For 98% of my life, late nights have been my favorite time period. Whether it be as a child, staying up late to watch Monster Vision or Mystery Science Theater, or as an adult, going to concerts, midnight film screenings, or just being at home working on one project or another. When working on film projects, night shoots are always my preferred shift. One of my favorite memories working on a night shoot is when I was doing an audio gig on a project that was shooting overnight from dusk to dawn. We took a break, and I stepped outside into the rain and stood in the middle of an empty street, pointed my boom mic towards the state fairgrounds, and listened to the Twisted Sister concert going on at the time a few blocks away. Just me, the streetlight, the rain, and Dee Snider's voice over the roar of a very receptive crowd. Much of my adult life has involved working in a movie theater as a projectionist, and late nights were the absolute best in that occupation. I always loved closing down the rest of the theater, going upstairs and spending the night alone, putting together movies and trailer reels, and then watching the films to make sure I put it all together correctly. Driving home along the empty country back roads with the night sky above could be pretty magical sometimes too, especially when just the right song kicks in on the stereo. But those are all great things about late nights. The story I'm actually here to tell is far less happy. In February of 2003, I had been married for 8 months. She wasn't my high school sweetheart, but we did begin dating in high school. Our relationship was what could be politely referred to as rocky. Lots of fights, mistrust, money problems, and one failed engagement before the second one that actually led to our wedding. A friend once told me that he had never understood the phrase a love-hate relationship until he had spent some time hanging out with us. Now, I was raised in a religious family and was taught that marriages took work, forgiveness, and were forever. So we were often choosing to start fresh after a big fight or a near breakup. 2003 was the beginning of one of those periods. We had recently moved into a new apartment, she had started a new job, I had taken on a second one, and so we were mending and improving our relationship once more. Part of my contribution to this plan was to purchase her an expensive gift. One of the few things that we enjoyed together was watching wrestling, Monday Night Raw specifically. Well, it just so happened that they would be doing a live episode in Columbus on February 17th, just after Valentine's Day and my birthday. As a couple, we'd barely done anything big or extravagant. We went to prom, had our wedding, and had gone to maybe 2 concerts together. But that was it over 4 years. Not even a honeymoon, because we were always broke. So I decided we would finally do something big together as part of our renewed relationship. I got us tickets to Monday Night Raw, and I spared no expense to get the best seats possible. 5 rows from the front, and a few seats away from the entrance ramp, guaranteeing us a good view and that we would be able to be seen on TV that night. As I said, wrestling was something we watched together, but she was far more into it than I, so this seemed a perfect sort of a grand gesture. After all, if I'd learned nothing else from my sitcom-fueled childhood, it was that a grand gesture fixes everything. A couple of days before Valentine's, though, we were fighting again. She had disappeared for 2 days, and when she finally showed up again, it was with 2 guys I didn't recognize, and they threatened to kick my ass on her behalf as we argued about her being gone with no explanation. She left again, but I knew she had been coming back to our apartment while I was at work because she would leave dirty dishes on the table. I've never been great at taking hints or generally willing to give up on things that I believed in, so I thought I had a great plan for our Valentine's Day to fix our marriage. Obviously, I had the tickets, but I also went out and bought flowers, which I rarely did, and I wrote her a sincere, heartfelt poem that detailed the ups and downs of our relationship but emphasized my dedication to it. I took the flowers in the poem and I left them in a prominent spot for her to see, and then I went to work. My second job at the time was at a factory, and so I wasn't off work until 1 a.m. that night. I found that night I found work extra difficult since all I could think about was whether or not my plan would work or would there just be another fight in our future. Coming home, I saw the living room light was on, so I knew she was either home or at least had been earlier. I nervously went up the steps and unlocked the door. Right in front of the door where I left them were the flowers in the poem. Dejected, I turned the corner to see the bedroom door was open a crack, and could see that she was in the bed asleep. I went in to wake her in hopes of a discussion. Upon opening the door further, I saw that she wasn't alone, or wearing any clothes. I just stood there for what seemed like forever, not knowing what to do or how to react. I had grown up on comic books, sitcoms, and the Bible, none of which have generally good advice for this situation. Eventually, I just walked back out, down the stairs, and out of the apartment. I went to the movie theater and I started working. I put together that week's new movie, and then I screened it at 3 in the morning. It was Ben Affleck's Daredevil movie. It did not make me feel any better. And so, not being interested in returning to our apartment, I lived in the movie theater office for a while. On my birthday, I somehow ended up in my hometown, sleeping on the floor of the living room in a trailer belonging to a friend of a friend from high school, while my family gathered at the bowling alley for my birthday party, confused and worried at my absence. Now, I was too embarrassed to talk to them and explain the situation. The next morning was the day of the live wrestling show, the wrestling show that I still possessed the tickets to. The tickets I had hung on to because I knew going to that show was a much more exciting event for her than it was for me. My friend Matthew and I spent most of that day and nearly a whole tank of gas digging his car out of the snowy driveway to that trailer, and that night I began my own healing process by going to Monday Night Raw with my best friend and sitting 5 rows from the front, a few seats from the entranceway, and clearly visible to anyone watching on TV at home.